So the league is not messing around when it comes to this NFL draft prank call situation, and honestly, it's worse than we thought, but the problems go way beyond Shedeur Sanders. So in today's video, I'll break this situation down, including the response of Falcons defensive coordinator Jeff Ulbrich, as well as other news around the league, such as a new highest paid tight end, the potential end of Justin Tucker, and more right after. Alright, the NFL has laid down the law and is issuing fines to both the Atlanta Falcons as well as defensive coordinator Jeff Ulbrich for the leaking of Shedeur Sanders' number, which resulted in the prank call on draft night. I talked about this more in pretty good detail in my last video. Most of you know at least the gist of the situation, but basically Jeff's 21-year-old son Jax was the one who actually wrote the number down from his dad's iPad and then gave it to a friend who called Shedeur. Well, this was all recorded on video and got leaked, went viral, all that. He ended up apologizing, talking about Jax on his Instagram, but that was not the end of it because Jeff ended up getting fined $100,000 and the Falcons were fined $250,000 as a result. Ulbrich's son Jax doesn't actually work for the NFL, so there's not much they can do to him in particular. More on that in a bit because there is something that's going to be done, but it's, I think, from the prompting of his dad more than anything else. Now, the blame does also fall on his dad, Jeff Ulbrich, for, quote, failing to prevent the disclosure of confidential information distributed to the club in advance of the NFL draft. And honestly, I think that's what's going on here more than anything else. It's less to do that the call was to Shedeur Sanders. I think who it was isn't the important part, but rather how it happened via an active coach on staff and the info getting leaked through that. There was a bunch of prank calls that actually happened this year to other players, and I'll get to that here in a moment, but first need to talk about Jeff Ulbrich's press conference that happened today. He took to the podium, looked rather somber, and apologized for both he and his son's roles in the prank call.
My actions of not protecting confidential data were inexcusable. My son's actions were absolutely inexcusable. And for that, we are both deeply sorry.
He also said the NFL's discipline is completely fair. He does not plan on appealing it in any way, shape, or form. He and his son will both be better from this experience, and they will take all of this on the chin, which is what they've been doing, and accepting full responsibility for their actions. He also said they called Shedeur and Coach Prime personally to apologize, and Coach Prime and Shedeur had been very gracious about the whole thing. So yeah, props to him for owning it completely, though I can't help but feel for Ulbrich a bit here, considering this is largely the result of his son being a complete dumbass. Before the press conference took place, though, the Falcons released a statement when the fines were announced, saying they accept the discipline and will work to emphasize adherence to their security policies. Yeah, well, they might want to tighten up more than just that, because in the past decade alone, they've been fined $350,000 and a fifth-round pick for pumping in fake crowd noise. That one is my personal favorite. Then they were fined $75,000, plus Artie Smith was fined $25K for an injury report violation regarding Bijan Robinson. Then again, a $250,000 fine and another fifth-round pick for tampering with Kirk Cousins. And then, of course, this most recent fine, a big ol' yikes. And that's also not including the incident involving Calvin Ridley, where he got suspended for an entire season for gambling. But I want to get back to their statement, the Falcons statement, because most of you by now are wondering, what the heck is Jax going to be doing as a consequence of all this? Well, the Falcons ended their statement by saying, quote, additionally, the Ulbrich family is working with the organization to participate in community service initiatives in relation to last week's matter. Well, I think we all can agree that the Ulbrich family really means Jax Ulbrich. So be on the lookout for Jax picking up trash on the side of the road or maybe cleaning Roger Goodell's toilet for the foreseeable future. Jokes aside, the entire draft prank call situation has gotten a bit out of control because Shedeur Sanders was far from the only one to get pranked. Tyler Warren, Mason Graham, Chase Lunt, Isaiah Bond, and even Abdul Carter recently revealed that he's also received a prank call. The Isaiah Bond prank call, like Shedeur's, was actually recorded on video, which is a tough watch because he obviously ended up going undrafted. He's still dealing with that sexual assault allegation and still, at this point in time, 4 o'clock on Wednesday, remains unsigned. He is still an undrafted free agent after previously being a potential 3rd or 4th round prospect. I think teams are honestly not going to touch this situation. They're going to stay away from Bond until the legal situation reaches its conclusion. But back to the prank calls. The NFL is reportedly looking into all these other calls, and so far it seems they are unrelated to the Falcons and Shedeur Sanders incident. And that's pretty concerning because that means more than one person somehow obtained access to these draft phone numbers. All the GMs, head coaches, and player personnel directors of each team receive all the numbers prior to the draft via a confidential email, but then it's up to the teams who they forward this confidential info to from there. So it kind of makes you wonder how many people from each team are getting access to these things, and then who from there actually gets it. And I do want to mention, I realize opinions on these prank calls still seem pretty split if you glance around on social media. Many think that the fines weren't enough at all, like not even close, and others think, who cares? This is a stupid prank call. It doesn't matter one bit. Well, it's one thing to call some random person and ask if their refrigerator is running, but another thing entirely, this is just my opinion, to call a draft prospect who has been waiting for this moment for years or maybe even their entire life and lie to them about getting drafted. But hey, let me know your thoughts on this situation and what you think should have been the result of everything that went down. Are the fines for Ulbrich and the Falcons fair, or what would you have rather seen done differently? Next up, we have a new highest paid tight end. Yesterday, the 49ers and George Kittle agreed to a massive 4-year, $76.4 million deal with $40 million guaranteed. And make sure you properly credit who broke it. Bussin' with the boys, or else Will Compton will come for you like he did Ian Rappaport after the NFL credited the breaking of the Kittle news to Rap Sheet rather than bussin' with the boys. As far as the actual contract, it puts Kittle at $19.1 million a year, which just edges out Trey McBride and his deal that he signed a few weeks ago. Kittle's getting up there in age. He's going to be 32 in October, but this payday is absolutely deserved. He's been one of the best blocking tight ends since he stepped foot in the league, and he's been not just effective, but very effective as a pass catcher. Check this out. Since 1992, only 3 players have had multiple seasons with over 1,000 yards on less than 100 targets. George Kittle is one of them, along with A.J. Brown and Deshaun Jackson. Kittle just did that in these last 2 seasons, too. He had 90 targets in 2023 and 94 in 2024, yet topped 1,000 yards both years. So it's safe to say he's aging like fine wines and should continue to be a focal point of this 49ers offense for years to come. Another player that recently got paid was Vikings outside linebacker / edge rusher Andrew Van Ginkel. The team gave him a nice pay raise, signing him to a 1-year, $23 million extension with $22.4 million of that being guaranteed. He signed a 2-year deal with Minnesota just last offseason and had a career year with 11.5 sacks and 2 pick sixes. He was a big part of the defense that finished first in takeaways and tied for 4th in sacks, so well-deserved on his part, and this extension will now keep him in Minnesota through the 2026 season. Then let's stay in the NFC North for a moment here because the Green Bay Packers signed former first-round pick linebacker Isaiah Simmons yesterday. He's a guy that's very intriguing as he was the 8th overall pick in 2020 and is an athletic freak. I mean, the guy ran a 4.39 40, has played a little bit of safety too, operating as kind of a hybrid player. However, he had a couple rough seasons with the Giants, with him only finishing with 21 tackles last year despite playing all 17 games. So maybe the Packers can unlock him a bit and he can get back to his 2021 self when he had over 100 tackles and 4 forced fumbles. And then former Colts kicker Matt Gay signed with the Washington Commanders on a 1-year deal worth over $4.25 million fully guaranteed, and that's actually the most fully guaranteed money a kicker has ever gotten on a 1-year deal, and he can also earn up to $5 million with, quote, reachable incentives. In a corresponding move, Washington then released Zane Gonzalez, who kicked in 6 games for them last year, and the Commanders may not be the only team in the DMV area working with a new kicker this season because the Baltimore Ravens drafted kicker Tyler Loop in the 6th round, which has many wondering about the future of Justin Tucker. He's not only coming off of a pretty down year, arguably the worst year of his career, but he's also facing allegations of inappropriate behavior by 16 massage therapists in the Baltimore area, with these alleged incidents occurring from the years 2012 all the way through 2016. The NFL is still conducting their own investigation, and Ravens team officials have previously said they would wait to make a decision on Tucker's future with the team until after the investigation is finalized. But let's be honest here. Justin Tucker is just a kicker. He's far from safe here as far as his future with the team is concerned. And with Baltimore drafting Tyler Loop, it could be over for one of the best kickers in NFL history. Obviously, we'll see what happens with his off-the-field issues and then go from there. Another team that placed a lot of emphasis on special teams during the draft was the New England Patriots. Get this. They not only drafted the first kicker of any team, taking Andy Borealis early in the 6th round, but they then drafted long snapper Julian Ashby in the the 7th round, and that was the first time a long snapper has been drafted since 2021. And with them taking a long snapper, the team actually released their current long snapper, Joe Cardona, after playing 10 seasons with the team. He was their longest tenured player on the roster, and believe it or not, he was the only remaining player that had won a playoff game with the team. Next up, I wanted to talk about a pretty sad situation involving Jets backup quarterback Jordan Travis. He's officially retiring from the NFL at just 24 years old. And the reason why is because he suffered a gruesome leg injury during his final year of college in 2023. Well, the Jets knew he would have a long recovery ahead of him, but thought he had enough upside and it was worth taking a 5th-round flyer on him. After that, he spent all of last year on the NFI list, and in a statement today, he revealed that he's been medically advised to retire. He gave everything he had to the rehab process, but despite all his efforts, his leg never responded the way he had hoped. The injury kind of reminds me of Alex Smith's leg injury. I mean, it was freaking awful back when he was with the Redskins, and the fact that Alex Smith returned to play football at all was basically a miracle. Regardless, that's a tough way to go out for Jordan Travis, and I definitely wish him the best in whatever comes next for him. The Jets, meanwhile, just signed Justin Fields to a 2-year deal, and they do have Tyrod Taylor as their backup. I'm not sure how bright the future is there with that QB combo, but they do have a lot of playmakers on both sides of the ball, and it can't honestly be any worse than the failed Aaron Rodgers experiment. Anyway, that's all I have for today, so with that, I'll see y'all next time.